So instead of just complaining about it, what do I think we as Australians should do to manage the situation better than the government's doing now? Well, firstly, I think we just need to get rid of the most extreme restrictions. I think letting people be able to see loved ones, we should be able to see people. I also think we should expand the distances we should be able to travel, or just even drop distances altogether. Not being able to see somebody 11 kilometers away because the radius is only 10 kilometers, I think that's totally ridiculous. I don't think people should be walking around, walking their dog, wearing masks as if the dog's going to get COVID. If you're vaccinated, I don't see any reason why a person should be forced to comply with the restrictions. And also there should be much more freedom for anybody who can show that they have a negative COVID test within 3 days. I think the government needs to drop the strategy of maintaining restrictions until we achieve a certain level of vaccination. Instead of having a vaccination target, we need to have a vaccination deadline. If it is true that vaccinations don't have total effectiveness against coronavirus, then the only thing that's going to really solve this situation is natural immunity. And so we need to look at vaccinations as kind of being something that's going to fortify our immune system to help us deal with COVID, but it's not a silver bullet that's going to completely solve the whole thing. So the end state, the only end state that can be, is a case where through vaccinations the population is better prepared immune-wise to deal with coronavirus. But ultimately, we're never going to be able to avoid a situation in which COVID is not, out in the community and people are getting infected. So set a deadline, let people who really need the vaccination and want the vaccination, let them get it. And other people who are more, willing to live with some level of risk, we can take that risk onto ourselves. I think another thing that's going to help is, instead of having this all the eggs in one basket policy, is maybe having some kind of opt-in, opt-out policy, where instead of forcing people into lockdowns, what we basically do is give the government protections so that if people feel like it's better for them and they assess the risks and they want to stay inside and they basically want to engage in a self-lockdown, then they're totally free of doing it. They can't get fired. The government will support them financially in the way that we're already doing for the entire population. That's a much smarter and a much cheaper option, because you know what, a lot of people are going to want to go back to work. A lot of people are happy to live with some level of risk. A lot of people are going to want to enjoy having more freedom in their everyday life, and they're willing to take on the risk. And I totally understand why other people are very scared and they don't want to take that risk. Well, let's protect people who are vulnerable and people who feel vulnerable, instead of having this extremely costly lockdown that causes tension and resentment, where we're forcing people to be locked in our homes, and then we're propping up the whole economy with government welfare. Let's give people the option to sort of self-lockdown, and they can be ensured by the government that they're well protected and that they're going to be, cared for in this sort of particular crisis. Anyway, I'm getting kind of tired now. Those are my thoughts. I'm not claiming to be just some guy who has all the answers, but I think it's clear that the government strategy is not working. I don't think it is going to work. I think we need to start to come up with alternatives now, because we can't wait another 4 or 5 months and turn around and say the vaccinations were slower than we expected and we're going to lock down for longer, and we can't let this go on. Look at other countries like Israel and the United States. They have higher vaccinations. They're still doing this. They're still restricting their populations. We've got to just confront the reality that we ultimately cannot avoid COVID. We can't avoid COVID. We have to face it. We have to be able to live despite fear and despite danger. Okay, that is the only way that we've ever been able to live. Okay, that is the only way humanity has ever been able to live. So we have to get to that place. I'll probably do a few more videos to update and to elaborate on some of the things that I've said here. But to be honest, my brain is just it's starting to shut down, and I can't really articulate any more than that. So if you watch this, thank you for watching. Pray for us in Gulag 13.